Well, good morning and welcome. My name is Diane Bloodworth. I'm the CEO and founder of ScoutSmart. We help college coaches find recruits that fit their program. And we really appreciate you being here today for this webinar. It is about the power of video in college recruiting. And the main feedback that we receive from college coaches is that there is not enough video on the ScoutSmart profiles, or that video is not really sufficient for them to evaluate the players. So we know this is really important to the coaches, and we know it's really important to the players who want to get to that next level. And today on our call, we have Coach Alex Sweet, and Coach Sweet will be providing information on how to really create that highlight to get the coach's attention. And also, he'll talk about each position and what you need to look for. We'll also have a lot of time for Q&A. And Veronica, our marketing manager, who interacts with a lot of the coaches and players, will be coordinating that Q&A. So think about your questions and you can put them into the Q&A session of the webinar. Well, if you guys want to share the slides, and then I will introduce Coach Sweet. Coach Alex Sweet is the player performance analyst for ScoutSmart. He has a strong background in football, played Division I tackle football, has worked in the recruiting space for a number of years, and has really worked with a number of the top players in flag football as well. So he is going to talk us through on how to create that memorable highlight video.
Yeah. And before we get started too, first off, hello guys. Thank you guys for showing up. Just this really today's webinar is something that we definitely want you guys to pass along to teammates, parents, whatever the case is, because this is super important. I will say, as someone who looks at videos for you guys, right? Because I'm trying to help you guys get scouted, looked at by college coaches. Sometimes the video, you might be making some great plays, but if angles aren't there and things like that, it makes it very difficult. And so today, I think this is huge as far as an educational opportunity to make sure that you guys are maximizing yourselves when it comes to your film. So Mrs. Villa, you can share your screen and then go ahead if you want to do that and then put that up
Okay,
there.
all right. Well,
Start
Almost
that.
dying. If you just turn on the sharing, there we
Oh, you
go.
got the sharing? You got it on? Okay.
Sorry, sharing is caring, and I
Oh,
hadn't
yeah, I
shared.
get. It's all good. But you're definitely lock in for this one, guys. This will be a good one today. So. All right. So basically, today, the power of video college recruiting, right? So, as far as the game, right, things are changing, big announcements are coming. College recruiting is going to grow as coaches start to understand the landscape as far as travel, where prospects are. But obviously, until budgets grow and things like that, video is going to be your most powerful asset by far when it comes to your college recruiting. So that's exactly why we named it for that reason. Really want you guys to just lock in and understand that for this session here. The way that you cultivate that video is going to be huge for you guys as you guys get going. So we can go. You guys know Mrs. V. I'm Coach Wee. We can skip through that. So what we want to do is, hold on, let me see. There's a AV. Can you see that bar on the screen there, or is that just me?
Bar.
Yeah, there's like something covering up. And maybe it's only on my end. That's very weird.
No, I'm seeing it as well. It's kind of a
Okay.
black bar. You see if you can minimize it, V.
I mean, we can keep. I mean, I know what it says if we
Yeah,
want.
yeah. We'll work around it, Coach.
It
We.
will be
It's
good.
all good.
So, even though this is probably the most important rule, the number one, so basically these are going to be some of your cardinal rules, right? Just some of the things that are non-negotiables when it comes to putting together a highlight tape. Okay. We want to be able to gain the attention of coaches. So these are just some things that you definitely want to follow as far as just some basic guidelines that you just must have. So the first one is going to be the video footage. It needs to be shot at a good angle and it needs to be visible. Now, as far as flag football goes, I know tournaments are weird sometimes about where parents are allowed to stand and record. Um, and even furthermore, you got parents walking through videos and things like that. Your angles are not the best. You're shooting off of your iPhone. Try your hardest. I know it's not the easiest thing, but try your hardest to make sure that you are getting the best angle that you possibly can, preferably from behind for the certain tournaments that you guys do, because especially for scout vision in the future, when it comes to identifying numbers and things, that's probably going to be the clearest way to do that. But then obviously you can see how things are moving, see how your players moving relative to the defense or offense, whatever the case is, if you're not able to get like a high and wider angle. So it seems like an obvious rule, but really having visible and clear film that is shot at a good angle right now is a premium in the girls' game specifically because not everyone has a video guy that can be full time for high school, right? Usually for tournaments, it's going to be parents, and they may not have a tripod and things to be able to shoot. So we just got to kind of go the extra mile to do what we can to make sure we get that quality film. Um, as far as where you post film, if you make a reel on TikTok or Instagram as far as using the technology and the software for that, I think that's perfectly fine. But understand that coaches are not going to find you on Instagram and TikTok. Okay. The biggest things that you want to look at as far as posting that stuff, for one, Huddle, which is not necessarily a place to post, but that's where you want to try and get video if you have a Huddle account, things like that, quick cut, whatever you use to cut that stuff down. But the other thing is also making sure that after you've made that reel, that video, that highlight, whatever platform you use, make sure you post it to Twitter. Honestly, I am noticing that some coaches, not all, but some coaches are on Facebook. If you can find those coaches posting different Facebook groups, those are also good places to post as well. But those Instagram and TikTok pages cannot be your primary resources. Now, understand if you start to use those as secondary, once you post it in the main spots, I think that's okay. But some of you with your Instagram profiles, they're private. So I'll hit a link and all of a sudden I can't even go to your page. It can create some things. So that's why I always tell girls, have your personal profile. Whatever you want to post on there, if you want to keep that private, that's fine. But as far as your flag football profile, it needs to be public so then coaches can access that Instagram reel in the event that, for some reason they don't have a Twitter and things like that. But do not let Instagram and TikTok be the main sources that you use. It'll be hard for coaches to find you. Number three, so the biggest thing is coaches need to know who you are. So before you show any clips of you playing football, there needs to be a slide that says, hey, my name is this. I go to this high school. Don't just put AHS or BHS or CHS. That could be anything, right? You need to have the full name, the state, because some states, you have the same name high school. Now, at that point, take it a step further. Email, contact info, usually a phone number is good. If you want to use a parent phone number, that's fine. If you don't want to put your own as a kid, just depends on what you want to do. But I mean, as a high school kid, coaches are going to be calling you at some point, so you might as well put your own. And then from there, you're good to go. If you want to add another slide, which I do recommend, especially if you have 7-on-7 film, you want to have a stat slide. So how many flag pulls you had, how many interceptions you had, how many, touchdowns, all those things. So coaches are now being able to see, hey, let's get a look at this player, not only from a measurable standpoint, which height is good. Height and the weight part, I don't really care for in flag football because to me it doesn't really matter. But coaches do want to know your height, so definitely I would add that in there as well. But outside of that, those are just some of the things that you should always be thinking about. This is almost like a job application or resume of sorts. So you definitely want to make sure that you leave a lot of information. The less information that coaches have to go and grab from other places, the easier it is to recruit you. So just kind of keep it in mind from that standpoint. Make them work less so recruiting you is easier. Make sense? Um, and then please, please, please identify yourself before every single play. So it can be an arrow, it can be a circle, it can be a square. I don't care what it is, but guys, if you start plays and no one knows where you are or who you are, it's very hard to find you all of a sudden when the ball's in the air or now you're about to make a flag pull. Coaches want to see you from start to finish in each play. So make sure before the play even begins, you identify yourself. And sometimes there may be plays where there's a bunch of people in one spot, and you may have to identify yourself once more once things kind of clear up on the film. But again, initially before that play even starts, please make sure that you have identified yourself in that play so coaches can get a clear evaluation from the start of the play all the way to the finish. As far as the length of your videos, it's fun if you want to make your own highlight and put a bunch of cool music and things like that on there, and it can be 5 minutes long and all the other stuff. But for the sake of college recruiting, we want to make this super simple. All right, super simple. Limit the footage to 2 minutes. We want to have enough plays for a coach to know two things. Can you play football? Because they're going to know in the first 5 plays if they want to keep watching or not. Okay. And the second thing is, okay, now that we have been watching for these 5 plays or so, we know they're consistent. What kind of playmaker are they? They're going to find that out in 2 minutes or less. They don't need to watch you for 5 minutes. If they're watching film for that long, I mean, they must really be into it and just really checking it out, or they really don't know. And at that point, if they have to take that long to figure it out, they'll probably find somebody who they can evaluate much quicker. So, again, make sure that you're putting your best foot forward because, like I said, you only get 2 minutes and really you only get about 3 to 5 plays to make sure that that coach is locked in to who you are as a potential prospect. Okay. So number 6 is offense equals touchdowns, defense equals turnovers and sacks. So what does that mean? As far as the plays that should be first on your highlight before anything else, if you are an offensive player, it should be all of your scoring plays. Even if it's a 1 yard TD, that is proof of concept that you can get in the end zone. That needs to be there until we start going into some of your more regular plays. Defense, same thing. If you're a rusher, I want to see you pulling flags, disrupting the backfield, you know what I'm saying, getting those sacks, all right? If you're a DB or a middle linebacker, any kind of linebacker, outside linebacker, middle player, definitely any kind of turnovers, definitely your pass breakups and things like that, super high effort plays. Those are the things we want to look at. Now, if there's just happens to be this one play, right, that's just super spectacular, like, and even if you didn't score, right, you might want to put that one first. If you ran like 30 yards across the field one way and then 20 another way, and then you ran, 50 yards up to score and you made 5 people miss, that's probably a really good play. Even if you got pulled at the one, right, that's a pretty good play. We want to show that. But again, just always be thinking, I want to show my touchdowns, right? The best plays that I have out there are the ones where we score most of the time. So let's make sure that we highlight those defensively. Turnovers are the name of the game, so we definitely want to get those picks. And for those rushers, definitely sacks if we're pulling the flag in the backfield. Okay. And then number 7, which is kind of the number 1 rule, but I think this is also the most important rule, is just always put your best footage on display first. There are some highlight tapes that I watch, and I'm looking at the first few plays, and I'm like, I'm already in my head evaluating, giving you guys your skill score for your profiles and things. And I'm like, okay, I kind of see this, but all of a sudden I'll see like 3 really amazing plays in a row and be like, well, okay, we got to kind of backtrack. Now imagine if I'm a college coach, right? Yeah, I just told you if you only got about 3 to 5 plays, those first 3 to 5 might not have sold them. They might already be moving on to the next player, right? So we got to make sure you are putting your absolute best plays, and you'll be able to gauge what that is. You can kind of think right now, as far as your last season, probably what some of your better plays were. I know Mia Garcia was supposed to be in here at one point. I don't know if she came in today, but I know, for instance, she caught a game winner in the state championship. That's a pretty cool play. Now it was a shorter distance, but again, that's a play where you want to highlight that, make sure you put that first. Even put some context there if you want to, like, hey, this was the game winning play, whatever it is, just to show, that you can also perform, excuse me, in those big moments. Okay. So those are the 7 cardinal rules as far as making sure we got a good highlight. Okay. So now what we're going to do now is get into how you cultivate that highlight based on position. So not everyone is going to have the same order of plays, the same plays that they're showing, the same things that they're showing based on the position they play. And as obvious as that may seem, not everybody really understands that, depending, especially in flag, because you guys play so many positions, there are certain plays that you want to see, based on the position you play from a college coach standpoint. So as far as quarterback goes, I think one of the more important things is the deep ball accuracy, and not necessarily being able to, chuck the ball 30, 40, 50 yards down the field. But can you hit a target, 20 yards down the field? do you have the arm strength to make throws, even from, middle of the field to the numbers as far as throwing hitch routes and those kind of things. Let coaches know that you are able to whip the ball, especially in, as we know, 7-on-7, 5-on-5 tight spaces, right? Being able to play, especially you see a lot of zone in those aspects too. So being able to fit the ball in tight windows is huge. The next thing is going to be the play extension, right? So as we know, especially in most states, we're going to have a 1 yard rush. So a lot of times, if the ball's not coming out quick, you're going to have to run left or right to be able to extend the play and make sure we get a completion, or you might run out the pocket, right? So that's definitely something that you want to show, especially as coaches get more creative with their playbooks and things. They want that quarterback being able to move around. And you don't have to necessarily be the greatest athlete, but just understand that you want to show the quarterback, excuse me, the coach who's looking at you that, hey, that I can't evade the rush, give myself an extra second or two to make the pass downfield or shovel pass to the center or whatever it is that you guys are doing. And throwing variants. So what does that mean? Just different. And I don't want you guys all of a sudden want to be Pat Mahomes and throwing crazy arm angles. It's not the point. But we do want to see different types of throws. Can you throw on the run? Can you throw in the pocket? Can you throw 20 yards down the field? Like I said, can you hit a hitch right in front of you? So those are all the different things that we want to see. Can you hit out routes and things of that nature to the sideline, making sure the ball's not being thrown inside, all those things. Because I'm telling you, the more I watch flag football, these coaches are really beginning to become creative offensively, and they want to be able to do a lot of things with their quarterback. So again, showing that versatility from an arm talent standpoint, I think is going to be huge for you guys as you move forward. And then, which I think is the least important from a quarterback standpoint, but still very important, is just that running ability, right? So if the thing does break down, the pocket does break down, the rusher does get back there and you evade, are you able to get an extra 5 to 7 yards? Are you able to get an extra 10 to 15? Are you making the first girl miss in space? Those are some good things as a bonus to have. Believe me, coaches want to make sure you can throw the ball before all things. But if you can run that pill for sure, I'm telling you, that's going to help your chances out a lot. So if you do have that in your bag, definitely put that on film. But again, this is not telling you what you should have on film. This is telling you the things that you want to have based on the film that you have. Okay. So I just want to make that very clear. Okay. Oh, look, it's Clam. So far as running back goes, okay. So biggest thing with the running back, and I call it an H back because some coaches use different lingo as far as identifying that position. Um, the it's tough right now for players who play running back because a lot of the times they're in the backfield blocking as an extra blocker to help the center. What we want to try to do in the meantime is outside of that, which we do want to show that ability on film. If you guys have plays where you're catching the ball out the backfield, if you're taking like straight handoffs or running some kind of option, you get a pitch. Definitely show those things initially, because at the end of the day, and I could be very wrong, but I think at some point the running back position may start to phase out a little bit, especially at the college level, because coaches are so just down with the forward pass and it's hard to stop that rusher. But I still do think some coaches will try to stay traditional to keep that rusher kind of at bay and make you think a little bit. So if you guys are in offenses like that, you definitely want to show that ability. Definitely catching the ball is important too. And then big playability, right? So outside of just running and catching, are you making girls miss, right? Are you able to evade multiple players to get the first down or to get 15 plus on certain plays or take it the distance and go score? Again, you should be putting those TDs on there first anyway, right? But again, just showcasing some of those things from an agility standpoint, knowing that we can make defenders miss is going to be huge. And then from a lateral agility standpoint, which pairs with your blocking, right? A lot of you guys are back there, you're moving your feet side to side. That's definitely stuff that we want to see, especially when we're talking about staying in front of rushers, blitzers, who are coming in the backfield to get to the QB. So, and I know some very good running backs who are really good at that. And so I tell them definitely put that stuff on film because it does show that you can give the quarterback some time and you can make the quarterback a little more comfortable when they know they got some extra help back there from a running back standpoint. And then route running. So I did put that last because again, most of the time a running back is not really running a flare or any kind of angle or like being put in the slot. they're back there kind of just as a safety net. Once the pressure breaks down, they turn around, catch the ball, and go, right? So, again, if you have route running in your bag, if there is a coach who's having you run bubbles and things like that, any kind of routes up the field, definitely show that stuff, because I will tell you this. If you do it well enough, you'll probably end up converting to a receiver at some point anyway, if you keep playing long enough. So it's good to be versatile in that aspect as well. So if you're a running back or H back, that's definitely something that you want to pay attention to as you build that highlight. And then the receivers, my favorite, right? So as far as the receiver position goes, which majority of the people who play flag football are receivers, right? A lot of you girls are receivers. So as we know, the TD should already be on there, but the big plays are important. Like those plays where we're getting 15 plus, we're head topping, so to speak, as you guys like to call it. Like I said, making 2 or 3 girls miss, even making big plays in big moments. Like I talked about a state championship catch. All of those things are important, right? As far as showing a coach what you can do at that position. Spectacular catches, right? So I've seen some really good catches where girls can't see the ball, one-handed, jumping up over players, whatever it is. Again, I will say, as a receiver trainer, catching the ball is probably one of the biggest things that I have to fix with girls. So when you see a girl who can just naturally go up and grab the ball in different ways, different angles, that's huge upside. I mean, very huge, especially when you're talking about trying to get that college opportunity. So you definitely want to show that stuff. And then we got to get the yak, right? So yards after catch. Man, listen, that is the law. The number one rule as a receiver is you always make the first defender miss. So we have to show that consistently on film. Why do I say that? Because for one, extending plays again, first downs, third downs being converted to first downs, especially when we're talking about a 1st and 20, 1st and 16, right? Or 1st and 14, right? Those kind of plays are important as far as driving the ball down the field. Biggest thing is understand this, and you just got to think from a college recruiting standpoint. I can go grab probably 5 random people up the street right now and throw them a hitch, and they can get their flag pulled no problem and get me maybe 1 yard after the catch, right? That's not why you're being looked at to go to college, right? You got to be able to catch that 5 yard hitch and turn it into 10 yards, right? Maybe 15, maybe 30, 40, right? That's what coaches want to see. If you're not able to do that, that's showing them that, hey, listen, all right, I can get anyone right now. They can literally close their eyes and point and find someone to do that job. Whole point of you being considered a college prospect is because you're doing things differently. You're above average, right? So as far as creating those big plays, tight spaces, making defenders miss, that is huge. Hip moves, dip moves, the whole thing. You definitely want to show that stuff if you have that. Route running, obviously huge, but I do understand that there are some offenses where girls are only running like post routes and seam routes the whole time. Or they may only run slants, or they may only run hitches on the backside, or just different things like that. But again, when you get opportunities to run anything from the route tree, make sure that you are running those things well and make sure you're showcasing that on a consistent basis. Because I will tell you, especially as far as, again, being a wide receiver trainer, I'm making sure that you guys know you should be running routes, especially when you guys have aspirations to play at even higher levels, right? I have seen multiple girls go from being average pass catchers, average route runners, to now being above average route runners. And now that relates to being above average pass catchers because it all goes hand in hand, right? Coaches want to see you consistently running routes, winning routes, because you will see man coverage a lot more when you get to college, and especially precision on routes, because you got to be able to win, because the windows will tighten as the competition gets better. And then your burst off the ball, which could easily be number one. Consistently, receiver stance and start is so important. If you're coming off the ball, half speed. If you're jogging because you're not getting the ball, that can be a turnoff for college coaches. I'm just letting you know that, right? Especially if they're watching you in person. Because understand that all these things I'm talking about, coaches are also going to watch you play in person. And highlights are only going to show the good things. But if you're not doing this stuff consistently, play to play, Coaches who are coming to watch you will document these things, and that could make or break if they want to make a decision about you being in their program. So I think number five is just more of an effort thing as well, right? Understanding that we want to burst off the ball every single play, showing that speed, but also showing that we can get defenders backed off, and we're going to work hard every single play. All right, so the position that sometimes gets forgotten, but I think is obviously super important, and USA coaches, football coaches will definitely say the same thing. This is one of the more important positions that they look at, is the center position. So first and foremost, can you snap the ball? That is the biggest part. And honestly, I will give you guys a little bit of a hack as far as making a highlight tape for this. So understand that there are going to be different distances that you guys snap at. Some snap at 5, some snap at 7, some snap as far as 10, right? You might be in an offense for high school that only snaps 5 yards. So how are you showing that you can snap further? Doing it the right way, setting up a camera, you can go to a football field and snap, whether you snap into like a net or snap to a friend, show that you can snap at those different distances. Just make sure it's a good angle so they can see from snap all the way to finish. And go from 5, go from 7, go from 10, because now at that point, a coach is not saying, okay, well, I know she can snap at 5, but I wonder if she can do it at 7. Can she do it at 10? Now, you can kind of tell based on the velocity, the speed of the ball getting back there. You can probably do some math in your head to see if that works out. But again, make it easy for coaches, right? Go ahead, set up your camera one day on a Saturday morning and just go out and snap the ball a few times. I would just say maybe do 5 to 10 at different distances and record those. And again, that also can be filmed for you to just watch on your own to perfect what you're doing. Send that to a personal coach you have, things like that. But again, snapping ability is going to be the most important. Because obviously, if you can't snap the football at a good level, you probably won't be getting looked at to snap it at the next level. So just kind of keep that in mind. Lateral agility, right? Blocking. So as we know, it is tough to go from snapping at center to then going and blocking that rusher at a 1 yard distance. But still, you just want to show that you're able to stay in front for even a split second and slow that rusher down. And some are better than at the skill than others. But definitely something you want to show, especially when those rushers retrace and try to get back. Now you guys are kind of closing off and trying to reroute as well, to block them off if the quarterback is starting to rush and move. So definitely so that you guys are able to be agile and move from side to side, because that is important for you guys as centers, as that kind of being a primary job for you outside of snapping the ball, or leaking out for those routes, which leads to catching, right? So every now and then, the center gets forgotten in the middle of the field, leaks out left or right. Definitely want to show the ability to catch the ball. And again, I'll pair this with number 4, especially if you can create plays after you make the catch. So a lot of times what happens is a girl who plays center will now go out, leak in the middle of the field. Now players are converging, right? That's a great time to pick one of those players, or even if they're kind of starting to converge at the same time, start to work a hip move, a dip move, maybe step back, make one of those miss, go around, different things like that. I see that quite often, right? So again, I think that's something that if you do have that, you definitely want to show. I do have route running in here because there are some coaches who like to utilize their centers in the pass game and have them run hitches, return routes, whip routes, just different kind of things there. And so if you do play a position, or excuse me, if you do play in an offense that allows you to be a little more versatile as far as being a route runner, absolutely put that stuff on there, because that makes you even more dangerous as a center, because now the defense has to account for that, as they're watching that film on you when they prepare. So definitely for the center, you may think you're forgotten, but trust me, I thought about a lot of the things that you guys go through and have to do, so you guys can also make a good highlight as well. And then, no offense to the QBs, but the rusher, to me, the most important position in football. I think it dictates in flag football. I think it dictates a lot, as far as the result of the game and being able to put pressure on that quarterback. The number one thing that I want you showing is sacks, right? Getting in the backfield, making those quarterbacks uncomfortable. And even if you don't have sacks, quarterback hurries, right? So what does that mean? If you guys are running around, right? And the quarterback's throwing the ball, a little bit sooner than they want to because you're rushing them and they're running left or right and they just kind of get rid of it, incompletion. That's what we want to call a quarterback hurry. Those are just as effective, especially when you're talking about down and distances long. So a 1st and 14, a 1st and 20, things like that. Second down. Now all of a sudden we're in 2nd and 20. You got to really start thinking about what plays you want to run before you got to punt the ball, right? So again, rushers, you guys dictate a ton when it comes to that. Definitely getting that quarterback in the backfield is huge, blowing up any run plays back there. But definitely show that first. Burst off the snap, right? So even though you do have a 1 yard cushion, you got to be kind of controlled on that burst. Still, I mean, I've evaluated some really good rushers. They get off that ball super quick. Okay. We definitely want to focus on that. Similar to receiver, which I always say receiver and rusher are pretty much the same position. If you really start looking at how they operate. And so having that burst off the ball, being agile, being able to avoid, a double team, maybe sometimes even a triple team if they have multiple players in the backfield, I think is huge for you. And really with that, now once we get into that part, as far as the burst, now we're talking about run pursuit, right? So when that ball is moving left to right, east to west, as they say, are you chasing the ball down? Are you making the offensive players have to make a decision, right? Are you making defenders cut back sometimes and go back to help? There's all kind of things that we see as far as playing that rusher position where now all of a sudden you may be running in a straight line, but now we got to break left or right in order to make a play. Um, definitely. As the game progresses, there's going to be some fast players hitting the edge, especially when coaches start wanting to run different sweeps and jets and all kind of things. Having that premium speed, having that pursuit, and even if you're not a super fast player, if you're tenacious in your pursuit, that's going to be super disruptive and it's going to be super helpful as far as the back end of your defense having time to diagnose and make plays, right? Pass disruption. So that kind of goes with the quarterback hurry I talked about. But also, some players are better at putting their hands up and knocking down passes versus getting sacks, and that can be just as effective, right? So, again, if you're a player who's used to being able to time up a throw and knock that ball down, and that's your thing, definitely show that. Coaches love that, being able to knock that ball down. And again, for some of you who don't do that, it's good to work on it, but just remember we can't make contact, right? But again, if it's on your tape, obviously it's because you didn't make contact. It was a clean play. You definitely want to put that in there because again, I'm starting to see taller quarterbacks too. So being able to change those arm angles, disrupt those throwing angles, and being able to get the ball out of the air if we can at times, and sometimes even maybe pop it up and get a pick. That's super helpful as far as making plays and getting those turnovers. And then your lateral quickness, right? So I kind of already hit on that with the run pursuit, but I want to see players who are playing low center of gravity, right? Being able to change direction within a drop snap of a finger, right? We as rushers, I just believe that if you got a good rusher on your team, you're going to go very far in tournaments. Once the college thing happens, in playoffs or however they're going to format it, I think the trend will be the teams with the best receivers and rushers. You can have an average quarterback, I think, but if you have the best receivers and rushers, you'll be one of the more successful programs there. And then for my backers, right? So middle players, outside linebackers. I think for you guys, and honestly, 1 and 2 can kind of go together. Obviously flag pulling is super important for you guys. But like I said, those turnovers are huge, right? And again, some of you might play receiver on the other side of the ball. So we know you can catch, putting those interceptions on there is really good. Breaking up passes is great as well because we're causing incompletions, especially in the middle of the field when they start to attack there. And really for the flag pulling part, right? So it's not just about pulling the flag as we connect this flag pulling with number 3, which is pursuit angles, but also from start to finish on that play, right? How are you attacking the flag? Are you attacking the correct hip? Are you making sure players are cutting back? Are you making sure that when you're going, we're not stopping at the flag, we're running through and making sure we're pulling that flag and not stopping our feet? There's all kind of things that we want to make sure that we're putting on tape as far as pursuing the ball and especially down the field because there will be times where a play does break for 15, 20 yards down the field. Effort plays, right? Being able to run the correct angle, chase the play down, that play could be a make or break. If all of a sudden they get pulled at the 8-yard line, they don't get to go in and score, the ball's turned over, all because you understood that you had to beat them to the spot. Super important. And then your play recognition, which easily could go to number two. Um, just and when I say this is not something you can really measure from a stat standpoint, right? But if you watch enough film and if coaches are evaluating correctly, they'll be able to notice a smart player, right? They'll be able to notice that you have your feet are buzzing, but they're patient. They'll be able to see that your eyes are looking in the right place and seeing where the ball's going before you react, right? Those are the kind of things when we talk about play recognition. There's a lot of players who I watch at linebacker, they're really aggressive to the ball and they may make a play, but sometimes they're slipping and reaching back or they have to kind of stop their feet and retrace. But some of the better linebackers that I see, they're very patient in the beginning, but their feet are always ready to go, right? They're seeing what's going on. When they see ball, they go get ball, right? That's super important from a coach standpoint because they want to know, especially if you're in that middle of the defense, because if that can be one of your smarter players, that's going to make life super easy for those other backers and those DBs who are playing around you. So, from a linebacker standpoint, those are the things that we want to focus on. Okay. And then lastly, for our defensive backs, so corners and safeties, this goes hand in hand for you both. So again, interceptions, getting those picks, breaking on the ball, and that's probably one thing I should have put separately. But pass breakups as well as breaking on the ball is super important, right? Your back pedal. So I talk about this in my training a lot. Right now, the girls' game is lacking DB training, right? So, what's being taught is a skate technique all the way pretty much down the field, which can be detrimental, especially if a player is running full speed, any kind of post routes, things like that. And so, showing a consistent back pedal is huge on film because, for one, it's going to make life a lot easier as far as defending passes, but it's also showing some above average coaching. And actually, Ashley Clam is right here on the screen. So Texas Fury is the club program that she played for growing up, and that's probably one of the few organizations that I see consistently where the girls are in a back pedal. I don't know what happened there. In a consistent back pedal, right? So at that point, that's what the things that we want to show on film. Mrs. V, I don't know if you saw, but the presentation went down off the screen. But yeah, as far as that back pedal goes, you want to be able to show a good back pedal, but then also be able to show good hip transition, right? So when we're talking about hips, flipping the hips, making sure we get into that pedal, that's going to be huge for you guys because again, the skate technique is good based on the certain defense that you're running. But again, when you go to college, a lot of coaches are going to rely on you to play man coverage or lock, if that's what you want to call it, right? So you're going to be one on one, you're going to be on an island, and you cannot skate out. I mean, and the girls are really good at that level. It's not going to work out, right? So being able to show that as well. And then lastly is going to be, oh, hold on, let me see. She probably brought it back up. There we go. And then lastly for you guys, which kind of I hit on for the linebackers as well, is the play recognition, right? So in high school, in fives, you're not playing a ton of man, right? Oh, in five sometimes, but you're not playing a ton of man. It's more zone. And with that, so that's where you're going to show that play recognition ability, right? So let's say if we're in sevens, right, and you're playing that, we'll just call it a field side corner, outside corner, right? And now you have two routes coming to you, right? It might be, we'll say smash concept, right? So your slots running a corner route, your outside receivers running the hitch, right? You're kind of playing that middle ground. As you become smarter, you'll be able to bait those players where you can skate out, kind of play the hitch a little bit, make them throw the corner. Now you can kind of sink out, get the pick, right? Or vice versa. You might try to sink back and play the corner, but then all of a sudden you might play the hitch a little bit, drive on it, pick six, and now we're to the house, right? Those are the kind of things that coaches want to see. They want to see you playing patient, once again, being in that pedal or skate technique if it's zone, right? And then just seeing what's happening as the play kind of what's the word I'm looking for? As a play, I gotta get my coach brain. As it unfolds. There we go. Unfolds. So as the play unfolds, we want to make sure that we be patient in that pedal, right? Or that skate technique, and be able to make a play on the ball there. So those are the things that we want to talk about as far as the D backs, those corners and safeties. That's what we're looking at as far as what you want to show on tape there. And
Well,
I believe
Coach
that was
Wheat,
it.
yeah, no, that's great. I'll give you a chance to take a breath. That's great
Yeah.
information for this group. Hey guys, if you have any questions, just put them in the Q&A window. V's going to be looking out for those. And I'm going to hand this off to V in just a second. I did want to mention, I know a lot of the attendees already have a Scout Smart account, but make sure if you don't create that free Scout Smart account, the things that Coach Wheat was talking about having with your video, such as your high school, your graduation year, your contact information. You can put all of that in your Scout Smart profile plus your video. We also have Scout Vision. So if you just have a Instagram reel and you want to turn that into a highlight video, you can do that with Scout Vision. And so there's QR codes there to create both of those accounts. All right, V, we've only got just a couple of minutes. We're for questions. Do you want to maybe read a question out and we'll go from there?
Okay, I certainly will. Let's see here. All right, one of our questions. It says, how important is a highlight video compared to stats in academics?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would say obviously academics are first, just because at this stage, that's gonna be where the majority of your money comes from, as far as playing at the next level. Now as far as your highlighting stats, so here's my thing. Um, Stats tell one part of the story. I don't like when people just rely heavily on numbers because numbers don't mean everything. It's always good to have proof of concept that we can see that visual. So I think your film is much more important. And for instance, this is a perfect example, right? So, and this is not necessarily a stat from a football standpoint, but like combine. So let's just say a really fast 40-yard dash is, a 4.3, right? So you look at this person on film, they look really, really good. They're moving really fast. They're running by everybody, but then all of a sudden they run a 40 and it's a 4.6. Does that mean they're a slow player? I don't really know. I mean, 4.6 is still fast, right? Look like a 4.3 on film, but again, we want to have that film and the stats to kind of be able to do an all-encompassing evaluation and kind of put the pieces of the puzzle together.
Okay. How often should an athlete update their highlight videos?
That's a good question. So right now, especially if there's Florida girls or any girls who play in the spring, you should be, and usually I think the max you can have is 15 games in a season. So you should have your first 4 game highlight tape made, and then you'll have your next 4 highlight tape made. And then after that, you will do a full season. And then let's say if you make the playoffs, then you can add on a playoff reel if you want. But again, you can have a reel that has all those together. That'll definitely exceed your 2 minutes. But again, it's going to take a little bit of work, but you want to start picking out some of your better plays throughout the season to start to put that full season highlight tape together. But again, coaches want to see that progress throughout each game or each few games. So I would say every 4 games, make a new highlight.
All right, V, I think we're getting close to end time here. I just want to thank everyone for participating today and thank you, Coach Wheat. I think you shared some excellent information. And if you have a Scout Smart account, drop us a message and we'll send you the slides if you think that would be valuable to you. So appreciate you all.
Appreciate you guys.